Pizza, a how-to. First, you're going to preheat your oven to as high as it goes. And if you don't have a pizza stone, do not worry. You can use the back of a baking pan and heat it up as the oven is heating. Leave it in there to get nice and hot. Then you can use another baking sheet that is slightly floured, or you can use semolina to slide your pizza off of that sheet into the other sheet, as shown in the video. So what you're going to need is 2 2/3 cups of all-purpose flour or bread flour, and you're going to divide that in half. So you're going to put the first half into a bowl, then put your packet of instant yeast into 3/4 cups of warm water with 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. Make sure your water is not too warm or it will kill the yeast. Do not mix the salt into the yeast water and sugar mixture because it can delay the time of the yeast activating. So you're going to put 3/4 teaspoons of salt into your divided flour, into the divided flour that you are going to use, because the rest of the flour you're going to use to gradually add in if your dough is too sticky. So once the yeast is activated, you will know when the water and yeast mixture gets foamy. It takes around 10 minutes. You'll put that mixture into a bowl with your flour and salt and knead till a dough ball forms. If the dough is too sticky to handle, add more flour gradually, and if it is too dry, add a bit of water to desired consistency. But be sure to start off with less flour than too much. It will be harder to hydrate your dough rather than making it into a nice dough ball. When making the dough ball, be sure to knead it enough to activate the gluten. And the way you will know if you activated the gluten or not is if you press the dough and the dough springs back nicely. Let it rest in a nice clean bowl. Make sure the bowl is oiled to rest for at least 1 hour or overnight, or until it is doubled in size. If you do not have a rolling pin, you can do what I did and do it by hand and hope for the best. I have had prior pizza making experience, but even then, I struggle stretching my dough out by hand sometimes, especially if I add too much flour. You can add your own topping as you like and even purchase your own tomato sauce. In this case, I made my own. I usually do, and it's pretty simple and not as messy as it is here. I was filming one-handed at this point without the tripod. I do not know why I attempted that, just didn't know how to properly adjust the camera angle without my head being in it, like it was later on when I cut the pizza. Anyways, moving on. I decided to use diced tomatoes, and they were canned, as well as canned tomato sauce. I started with sauteing my onions in butter till they were slightly brown. Then I added some garlic till slightly brown, probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon. And I used about half an onion. Added my 2 cans of tomatoes, salt, pepper, and Italian seasoning. Everything was to taste, so you can do it to your own liking. You can even make a garlic butter that I did for the crust. And that was just butter, Italian seasoning, and garlic. And then I just rubbed that on the crust before I put it in. Next, I sauced it, cheesed it up, added my own toppings. I did half with no cheese because I'm lactose intolerant, but you can do you. This crust is dairy free, and it is vegan. So if you're vegan, you can use this crust without the cheese or even add vegan cheese. The pizza in the beginning was my original test dough that I messed up, so I called it my trash pizza with mac and cheese. It was still pretty tasty, even though I messed it up, but I just really like carbs. And you can enjoy your pizza once browned, and the cheese is nice and melty. So as you can see here, I'm trying to stretch out my dough. I didn't use enough flour because it's kind of sticky into my hands, but you also do not want to use too much flour because then it'll become too tough, and also if you overwork it, it will become too tough. So that's what I was trying to do, but it was still kind of sticky. And also, you would want to knead or stretch it out with your knuckles instead of pulling with your hands like I did, which caused tears, as you see in the video. And I worked it more, which made it a little bit harder to work with. So I had to try a different approach, especially because I didn't have a rolling pin. I did this in the school dorm kitchens, because my friend was helping me out as best as he could, even though he had other projects to work on, so he was more or less not really helping me film. I was kind of on my own when he was supposed to help me. So I was kind of like a little stressed that I had to try and film it and make sure everything was correct. So not everything's going to be perfect in this video. It's kind of like choppy a bit. It's like my first take at making something like this. I mean, I've been like a news anchor before for school, and I had my cooking segment. It's a lot better. I'll probably include a link to that below so you can see that. So I do have some experience in being in front of the camera and doing some editing, but never actually filming in the camera. There was a couple of times that I did, but then I started my cooking segment because we were looking for more segments to add to our school news channel. Shit, I should not have done that. Okay. I just put my face in the shot.
Your head's gonna kind of be in the shot. I also couldn't